If Genesis 1 and 2 were the picture of absolute goodness, Genesis 6 would certainly be the exact opposite. We see in Genesis 6, after several hundred years of multiplication of people on the earth, we find wickedness reigned. That evil and the sinfulness of man's heart became apparent all throughout the land. In fact, Genesis 6:11 says, "Now the earth was corrupt in the sight of God, and all the earth was filled with violence." We see the heart of God broken over his very own creation. The ones that he loved had become the ones who had turned their back against him. They had rebelled, become idolaters, lovers of themselves and of their own appetites. Genesis 6 is truly a heartbreaking picture. It's not so strange for us to imagine that type of world. In fact, when you look at the world that we live in, we see a land filled with violence. We see a land filled with bloodshed, especially over the unborn. We see a land full of injustice and unrighteousness that reigns throughout, all from country to country. Even in our local context, we see wrong. And yet, we are not without hope. You see, Genesis 6 looks like a picture full of hopelessness and despair. And yet, listen to these words. Verse 8 says, "But Noah found favor," or found grace in the eyes of the Lord. You see, even when it seemed its darkest, even when it seemed like there was nothing redeeming about the world, God showed Noah grace. Now, there have been many that have put forth ideas of why exactly Noah was the one who found grace or found favor. Many have come up with several thoughts, and it's okay to have the liberty in that. And yet the most important thing we should remember from this passage is that our God delivers the grace. He's the one that looks on us and redeems us out of our sinful, wretched state. This whole picture of Genesis 6, beginning with individuals, whether they be angelic beings or human beings trying to taint this through sexual activity, taint this bloodline, as many have said, that God would provide a Messiah through, and Satan sends these demonic beings. The point of the passage reminds us that God does have his plan, and God's plan will not be thwarted by the hand of the enemy. See, we find that the story of Genesis 6 actually has a background in Genesis 5. In Genesis 5, this passage that we really don't like to read a lot because it's a genealogy. It just simply says so-and-so lived, and he begat so-and-so, and then he died. And then this person lived, begat so-and-so, and then he died. Well, if you look through these lists of names and you actually look at what the names mean, we find a glimpse, a hint of the gospel, even in Genesis chapter 5, that sets the stage for grace that would come in the midst of the sinfulness of the world. Take a walk with me as we journey through here. We see in Genesis chapter 5 that in verse 3, when Adam had lived, and Adam, we know Adam's name means mankind or man. He had a son named Seth, and Seth, who would be after Cain and Abel, Seth simply means appointed. Enosh means mortal. Then we have Enosh's son Kenan, which means a dwelling of sorrow. Mahalalel means the great God. Jared, the son of Mahalalel, means will come down. Enoch, who we know never tasted death in the sense that we understand tasting death, means to teach. Methuselah, the oldest one who lived according to the records, means that his death will bring. Lamech, the father of Noah, means the lost or the despairing. And Noah means comfort, rest, or peace. And when you look at these names and you walk right down from Adam all the way to Noah, here's the message you get, this cosmic message of Christ. You get Adam, Seth, Enosh, Kenan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah. Or, in our understanding, man is appointed mortal sorrow. But the great God will come down teaching that his death will bring the sorrowful or the despairing rest, comfort, and peace. You see, Genesis chapter 6 reveals for us the heart of a world that is broken, the heart of a world that has rejected God. Genesis 6 reveals our very world, a world where injustice reigns, a world where brokenness is apparent all over. And yet, in the background, we see that God has been working in Genesis 5 from Adam all the way to Noah to declare his message that yes, man is appointed mortal sorrow, or Hebrews 9:27, man is appointed once to die and after that the judgment. But the great God, not Hare Krishna, not Buddha, not Muhammad, not Allah, but the great God, Jehovah God, would come down in the form of Jesus Christ, the image of the invisible God, would come down teaching that his death would bring all of us who were lost and despairing comfort. His death would bring us peace. His death would bring us rest. The events of the world, even today, that bring tears to our eyes, sorrow to our hearts, not only of the world, but the activities of our own hearts, because we are sinful, wretched creatures. Don't leave us despairing or hopeless, because we have a great God who died for us, but not only died, but 3 days later rose again, and he brings a message of hope to every single one of us. And if we'll believe, if we'll trust in him, we have found grace in his sight. For Noah was commanded, make for yourself an ark built out of gopher wood. For us, Christ became that ark on our behalf. We could not make it ourselves. We could not build eternal security ourselves, but Christ became that ark. And at the end of chapter 6, it says, Noah did according to all that he was told, and you and I now have the chance to do according to all that we have been told, to trust in Jesus Christ, to put our faith in the new covenant, not the covenant of Noah, but the new covenant of Jesus Christ. And it's when we place our trust and faith in him that we are saved. And that brings us hope and rest and comfort. I love you. Praying for you. Stakes in the ground.